Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the FlipGrid portion of our sessions today. Just want to do a quick check with everybody that you can see the screen and also hear me. And luckily right now we don't have as much background noise. Hopefully we can get through the session. So just do a quick check, somebody to say, yes, we're good to go. Great. Okay, I'm Michelle Brown, and I'm going to be conducting the FlipGrid training, and Jason Adams is here doing the moderating. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat. We will also post a link to our FlipGrid Tech for Teachers classroom, where you'll find all the video resources and other materials that have come about from these training sessions. So they'll be under there, under their different topics. And then at the end, towards the end of the session, we'll post the link to the sign-in sheet for today's session. So one of the things I love about FlipGrid is that it's very versatile. It's really easy to use. It's also free, which makes it even better. And it allows the kids or the students to explain their learning. So we all know that when students can talk about their learning or share their learning or teach somebody else about what they've learned, it just elevates their knowledge of the content and gives them a deeper understanding. So one of the quick questions I'm going to throw out to you is, how familiar are you with FlipGrid, so we can get a feel for what audience we have? So never heard of it, seen it, tried it out, maybe a lesson or two, or you use it and you love it.
Never used it.
Okay, so if you're new to FlipGrid, you will really find this fairly easy to use, and it'll start sparking a lot of ideas once you see how versatile this program is. So before I get you into how to create a FlipGrid or sign up for a FlipGrid, I always believe and you want to see kind of where you're going so you know how to get there. So I'm going to give you and show you an example. This is going to be a first grade class. FlipGrid can be used from pre-K to university level or companies. It goes across the board. But this example specifically will be a first grade example, animal research that they did. So I'm going to show you the FlipGrid so you get a good idea of what it looks like as an end result. So if you can see this page, this is how the kids would see the FlipGrid when they come in once it's been created. And we will talk about how you get all this information up here and what you can do with it. But they see what the topic is, they can see your intro video if you want, or there's other options you can put here. Then they can click to record their response, and you can see you have here there's a button, here there's a button, and up here there's a button. So there shouldn't be any excuses about, oh, I couldn't find the button to record. It's very, very visible. So they click record their response, and then after they're done and they submit it, you will start seeing their little tiles come up with all their information. And when you click on it, it would play what they were supposed to provide for you. And we'll talk about controls and how you can monitor this. But that's kind of how it looks. I'm not going to watch the videos because we don't have time. But you will get a chance to practice and watch some videos later. So when you first get into FlipGrid.com, and I'm going to walk you through the process here in a minute, but I want to show you what it's going to look like first. When you go into FlipGrid.com, you will see an educator sign up if you've not set up an account. And you always want to use Sign with Google. You use your Google information, your school email, and that will set up your account for you. The students do not have to create an account. They will sign in with Google when they access your grid or your FlipGrid, but they do not need an account. They will use a code. So it makes it really easy on you. And then the first thing it does, when you first sign up for FlipGrid, it will ask you to create a topic right at the beginning. We're going to talk a little bit about how to do that, and I'll show you, walk you through the process. But a topic can be anything. So it can be questions, ideas, it can be a math assignment. Whatever you can think of, you can turn into a topic. So as you're starting to think, because we're going to go in and do one here in a minute, be thinking about what would be a good topic that I could use to practice with. If you have any questions, remember to put them in the chat and we'll answer them as we go along. So the first thing I want you to do is go out to flipgrid.com, and I'm going to do it with you guys. So flipgrid.com, this is also how the students will access the grid. Right? You will come to the main page. You will see an educator sign up in the upper right corner. This enter the join code, that's where the students will put in their code, and I will have you practice as a student towards the end. But for right now, I'm going to have you go ahead and click educator sign up. And it's going to log me in, so I'm going to go ahead and log out so you can see kind of what it looks like. So there again is the educator sign up. You're going to sign up with Google. I believe it asks you to fill out some brief information. So you go ahead and do that. And then you will get to a point where it's going to ask you to create a topic. From here, you pretty much fill out the fields that it asks for. So you were going to make a topic title. It could be beginning of the year introductions, it could be math facts, animal research, science project, whatever you can think of. So you give your topic a title. The prompt is going to be maybe the question you want them to answer, instructions you want them to follow. It could be a mini rubric in there, making sure that they hit these certain points when they're presenting their information. Then from there, you're going to have your recording time. And you have various options, 15 seconds to 10 minutes. This will apply when they go in to record their assignment. It will cut them off when that time limit has been met. They don't have to record that whole time. They can stop whenever they want. But when they reach that mark, it will stop and not allow them to record anymore. So you can use this for various ways. You may want to give them lots of time so that they can get their point across, or you may want to limit their time so they're not rambling and talking on and on forever. Or you may want to know they need to accomplish this task within 30 seconds, whether it's read a certain passage, do some math facts, whatever it is. This video moderation is something you do want to know about. So if you remember on that example, you could see all the students' little topics. Well, when the kids record and submit, they also can see each other's topics, answers. So they can click on them and see what their fellow students have said, and there's ways that you can make it so they can respond to each other. But if you don't want them to see each other's responses once they submit, you have to turn this video moderation on. So you would click it to turn it on. It's by default off, which means all responses will show to each other, to the other students. Now, why would you want to turn it on? Well, if you're doing some type of assessment and you want them to share their ideas or their knowledge without hearing what others have presented, then you'd want to turn this on so that they can't hear each other. Now when you come in here and turn it off again, they would then see everybody's responses would show up. So then they would have the option to watch each other's and comment on each other's. So that's under video moderation. This media section, if you remember in that example, that first grade example, there was a little video of the two teachers, and if, when the kids play that, they would hear those teachers talking about the assignment or giving an example of what is expected. So that's where this comes in. This little record video allows you to record yourself, either explaining instructions, giving an example, whatever you want to do. But you also have other options of uploading a specific video you want them to watch. Maybe you want them to look at a Nearpod. Maybe there's just a picture that goes with the assignment. You have a lot of different options to put there so that it gives them an example of what you're looking for or gives them a prompt to work from. If you don't put anything there, it's just blank. Access and control, this is also another important piece. This is how students will access the FlipGrid. You want to use the student email option. And if you can see right here, you want to put @henry-schools.net so that all the kids have to do is click on signing with Google, click their name, and they're in. They don't have to enter anything but a code. There's no passwords that have to be created, no usernames, nothing. This down here, I would not recommend because this means that you are creating username and passwords for them, and then you're having to manage that. So, you know how students will say, I don't remember my password. So if you use the henry-schools.net, they automatically get put in just by signing in with Google. Under more options, you have to click on it to see it. This is for attachments, so you can attach links or other materials to this FlipGrid. So if you wanted them to work with a worksheet, or maybe you have something in Google Docs, or something that you've put up in Google Classroom, you can attach it here, and they would have access to it within the FlipGrid. The status of the topic is important because it's by default active, which is what you want, which means people can respond, the students can respond. But if for some reason you don't want it active anymore, you can freeze it, which means that the kids would still be able to see it, but there wouldn't be any more responses allowed. They could watch the videos, the other responses, but no more could be added. Hidden means it's totally invisible to them. There's also the ability to schedule. So let's say you were, I think Jason was telling me about an example of a teacher who's doing introductions for the beginning of the school year, and they're having their students do introductions for themselves. You could set those introductions up for the different classes way ahead of time, and if you wanted multiple things to happen, like maybe the first time they do an introduction, the second topic is something else, the third topic is something else, and it's building on each other, you can set that up ahead of time and put in dates. So the first date would be when the students can see it. So they won't see the topic until that date, and then it would show up. Then the end date goes here, which means when they reach the end date, it would freeze and no more responses would be allowed. So this is a good way to manage some things without having to manage it each individual time. You can set it up ahead of time. Topic features. So notifications. So if you don't want a notification all the time when a video or something is posted, you want to change these options. So you have the option of getting notifications daily, weekly, for every new video that's posted, or never. You may want to know when they post a new video, or you may not. It really depends on how you want to work. And then some of these others you may want to look at to see what options you want to allow for your students. So just make sure you go through those and make sure they're what you want. Most of this default is fine. It really is going to depend on your comfort level and your students' abilities. The selfies and the videos is what allows them to make their videos and do the little picture at the end. You can change that if you want. Kind of takes away some of the fun, which is one of the important things about FlipGrid is that they find it fun, so they want to do the work. Video comments, if you want them to respond to each other with video. So if you're doing a discussion, that's this one. To see the views of the video, that's this. Sticky notes is an important one because it allows them to put notes on their computer screen so that as they're recording, they can read their notes. No one sees the notes, it's just for them. It's kind of like a teleprompter. Video editing, there's video editing tools that they can edit their video. So this allows them to trim their video. So sometimes students forget to pause or stop the video, and so you get a lot of silence, and they're messing with their hair, or they're not quite sure what's going on. They can trim that stuff out. Attachment links, this is, again, if you want them to attach something to their video, they can do it here. Likes by default is off. The reason for that is, sometimes that can create a little bit of conflict if someone gets more likes than somebody else. But you do have the option to turn that on if you feel like you need to. Feedback is where you can give feedback, and if you have a rubric that you want to use and you want to assign them a specific rubric, you can use this custom feedback to do that. And then of course, if you make all these changes, you can make it your default so that every topic would have the default settings and you wouldn't have to do them individually each time. Create your topic. Says it's ready. It gives you a link to copy. You do not have to copy this link. I will show you how you can share it with your students without copying this, but you can copy it now and share it. You can put it in Google Classroom, Remind, which is a training session coming up on Friday. You can do this to Remind, so a good way to communicate with parents and students. And some of these others really don't apply. You can do a QR code and things like that too. So if you click All Set, it automatically brings you into a view that the students would see when they came in. So you can see kind of, it's very similar to this example right here, just a little bit more blank. So that's how you get started. Once you've created an account and you've set up your first topic, the rest of it's fairly simple to navigate. So your discussion board is where all your topics live. And this is where you can manage topics. So for instance, if you need to stop a topic, you can change it here. If you want to delete a topic, you can change it here. If you want to share it out, you can share it externally and people can view without necessarily responding. So if you wanted parents to see, you can also go in here, and this is where you would manage students. So let's say if a student, you saw a video that was not quite appropriate, or you thought it could lead to some other things and you wanted to take it down, you can go into the topic and you would see the responses and you would find the one that you wanted to delete, and you could go ahead and delete it from here. Okay? And there's lots of other options that you can hide the response. There's lots of different things you can do with the individual student's response. And that's under the main dashboard of discussion. You will also notice next to topics is groups. So groups is a way that you can assign a topic to different groups and they can all be working on the same topic. So you could have groups based on content, you could have groups based on ability, you could just have team groups for collaboration, and then the topic that you assign to them would be for that group, and only that group would see that topic. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the chat. I'm going to keep going across the top. So after discussion, you would see this discovery library. So you will notice in the discovery library, there are tons of resources in how to use FlipGrid and ideas and lessons already created. So you can search by grade level, you can search by subject, and find grids that have already been made, and then just copy them to your grid, and then you would be able to edit it and make it your own. So you don't have to recreate the wheel. And then of course, a lot of their partners, Wonderopolis and some of these others, Nearpod, Breakout EDU, all these have great ideas with how to use FlipGrid with their product. Activities just for your own benefit on what kind of activity you've done, who's responded to your grid. So some metrics there. Mixtapes is a way to take some of the responses and pull them all into one thing and create like a mixtape. And then you would be able to share that out to parents or whoever you wanted to share it out to, and it would have all the examples as one. I'm going to skip over shorts because I'm going to show you what that means in a minute and demonstrate that a little bit. And Grid Pals. Grid Pals is a way for you to connect with other FlipGrid educators all over the world. Ways I've seen this used is classroom connections, where classrooms may be working from other parts of the country or world are working on a similar topic, and they can collaborate and share. I've also seen it used with experts in the field, like we had neuroscientists one time, and they would get on, they would talk about what they were doing and explain it to the students, and then the students were able to ask questions. This wasn't synchronous live, because sometimes timing, when you're dealing with people in the United States and other parts of the world, the timing of the day and time can be quite difficult to navigate. So it's asynchronous. So if you had someone across the world that was studying elephants and they were talking about how they were studying elephants, students could get on, ask them questions, they could respond, and you could access it when it's a good time for you in your class. So that's how Grid Pals works. So educators or experts in the field. Are there any questions so far on that piece before I talk about shorts? And then I'm going to give you time to practice in a FlipGrid. You good? Awesome. Okay. Shorts. So what shorts is, it's a way of accessing the power of the FlipGrid camera and all its tools without having to create a topic. So, for instance, if you wanted to create a very quick introduction, or, well, it doesn't have to be quick because you have up to 10 minutes, a tutorial where you want to screen capture or demonstrate something, and you need a little video, this is a good way to use that. If you don't have to keep it in FlipGrid, you can download the video and put it wherever you need, in your classroom. You can share it in an email. The video, when you download it, goes in, you can save it to your Google Drive and use it however you want because it's an MP4. So if you're looking for something like this, this is a great tool. So in Shorts, you just click on Shorts, and you can see that there's some examples here. And you click Record Video, and it brings up the FlipGrid camera. So on the FlipGrid camera, you have your record button, and then you have other tools over here. And just note that all the tools in the FlipGrid camera are also available to students. So when they create their videos, they have these same tools. So under the first part, options, obviously you can see upload clip and audio controls. This is record screen, which works just like any other screen recording. So you would click on start, you would pick what you wanted to record, right, your entire screen, application, or tab. You click share, and then it's going to start recording your screen. So my screen is being recorded right now, it's recording my audio. So if I clicked to something, I can say, I want you to go to FlipGrid and respond to this topic, or I need you to go out to the web and do this, or I need you to upload this document to Classroom, whatever you need to screen record. So then when you're done, I'll close out, you can see that and I can move my little picture wherever I want. It's in the way. When you're done, you click Stop Recording. Recording your screen. So my screen is being recorded right now, it's recording my audio. So if I clicked to so you can see that it created that thing, I can say, I want you to go to FlipGrid and respond to this topic, or I need you to go out to the web and do this, or I need you to upload. So that gives you an idea, it gives you a video clip. This video clip is editable to some degree. It's not a video editing software, so it is limited in that regard. But if you notice down here, I can click on this screen. And you'll have to pause my screen is being again. Pause it again. I can trim this down by dragging these buttons, or I can delete it. Okay? I'm just going your screen. I'm just going to keep it. All right. If I need to add more, like let's say now I want to use the whiteboard feature, or I want to add something else, I can add more to it, and it just puts it on the end. And also the good thing about this is I can move these clips around. So if I decide what I want at the end, I want at the beginning, I just grab that clip and move it. So it does have some editing features in it. So I'm going to say I want to add more, because I want to show you some of the other tools. So on this side where there's effects, you have all these different effects that you can use. So filters, if for some reason someone doesn't want to be seen on camera, they could do this. That's going to be up to you and your expectations with your students. You may want to know who is on camera talking to you. Okay, so there's filters. You go back, little arrow, you have frames, different stickers, you can type, you can draw, you can add a photo. Like if somebody asked about Bitmojis or something like that, you can save the Bitmoji as a photo and then bring it up. The cool feature is the whiteboard feature. So you can have just straight whiteboard, and you have different options of paper and backgrounds. You want chalkboard, okay? I'll leave lines up so you can see it. And then if you want to split the screen. And then from here, you can draw or type. So you want them to answer a question, or write on the paper, or demonstrate math, or type something, they can. Okay? And you can too. So in your instructional video, you might want to say, this is what I want you to do, here's an example. And you'd be recording this, so your camera would be going the whole time. I just didn't turn on the camera to save time. If you're done with everything, I'll record it just a little bit so you can see the clip. So we're recording just a little bit of it. I'll draw just so you can see an example. Just so we have a clip at the end so you can see. And I'm done, I click next, recording your screen. And you can see down here, here's the first part, here's the second part. I can move this to the front if I want to, I can keep it there, I can delete it out. I can add more. If I'm done, I click next. They say to take a selfie, so you gotta remember to smile. But again, you have all the effects. So I'm gonna put a little, there it is. You can cover your face if you want. Really depends on your expectations. And I would make that clear to my students that I would limit the number of stickers for one, especially in the beginning, or you're gonna have stickers all over the place. And talk about, you know, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. You don't want it to be distracting, those kind of things. And then I would, if you don't mind them covering their face, that's fine, but if you want to see their face, or you're doing this where they can see themselves and review how they're presenting information, you're gonna want them to show their face. So, they take their selfie, they smile, and then they go next, and it uploads. And there's your short, okay? So, when you make shorts, I can now take this little tutorial video and it takes a little bit to render and download it and save it to wherever I need to take it. And I'm not going to wait for it to render because that would be a waste of time. But you can download them and you can save them to your drive and then put them where you need, on a slideshow, whatever you need. So it is a very quick way for you to make a short, quick tutorial and present it to your students or whoever you need to present it to. Questions on shorts before I have you go into FlipGrid and practice as a student? We good? Okay. It's a Monday. Okay. So what I want you to do now is I'm going to have you practice. Talked about that. Oops. One too many. Okay. How do you... Oh, it's really wanting to jump around for me today. My mouse pad is very sensitive. Okay. So there's lots of ways to FlipGrid, and here are some examples. Okay. And I'm going to have you practice a FlipGrid as a student now, so you can see what a student would have access to and how they could use FlipGrid. The link you're going to go to is when you go to flipgrid.com, and you're going to want to go to the main page, not your login, not you logged in as a teacher, but just flipgrid.com, and I'll put the code up again for you. I'll give it a chance to load. I think our internet's slowing down. I'll log out. It's going slow. When you go to flipgrid.com, you can enter a join code at the top of the page. Okay, there is a join code, place to enter it. And now that I'm logged out, I can show you. Right here. Okay? Did not like that. I'll just pull it up for you. I'm going the teacher way, so bear with me. It might not let me get in. It's not liking it today. If you go to flipgrid.com, see if you, and enter this join code, A74171B2. I don't know if you can see it right here. Let me know if you guys can get into that FlipGrid. You should be able to get in. I don't think I put a date on it.
Okay.
Are they able to
We
get
have
in?
somebody in, yes.
Okay, good. For some reason, it's not liking me. Okay, so you should be able to see the topic, and let me go back. So they will come in and they can play the video. Chance for you to get a little practice in. You'll be accessing the FlipGrid as a student. so you can see kind of what they're going to go through when they try to post something for their assignment. So your assignment is to tell me how you think you can use FlipGrid in your classroom with your students. So remember to include your grade level and what the content, area, or curriculum connection is, and give an explanation of what you want to try with your students. Make sure when you're practicing with your videos to try out the different tools. Use the video editing, click on some buttons, practice the whiteboarding, practice the drawing tools, add stickers to your selfie, all those kind of things that you think the students are going to try. So you can get a good feel for how to use the FlipGrid camera and how your students will be interacting with their assignment. Good luck and have fun. That's the most important thing about FlipGrid, is to have fun. So that kind of gives you an idea what the students would see if you had an instructional video there or some other content. So I want you to go ahead, and you should be able to see the record response. Go ahead and record your response. Play with the tools. Check out the sticky notes, because they're in there. I'm going to let you see if you can find them. That's kind of like your little treasure hunt, is can you find and use the sticky notes? And go ahead, and we'll give you some time to play with the camera before we wrap up. Yay, I got in. I left anything out? If you have questions, just put them in the chat, and we'll answer them as we go.
And sharing. Like last time whenever we shared it, it showed like a classroom, never mind, button. You already showed that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Are you not paying attention?
I was moderating chat. Engaged. Right, we got a couple.
Okay, I'm starting to see your videos load, so that's really good. Getting a couple. You can see, if you're on the grid, you can see the last class's responses. So I'll give you a few more minutes to play with that, and then I want to talk a little bit about Immersive Reader, which is an important tool, and see if there's any questions. And then tell you where you can find some good resources. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up since we only got like 4 minutes left. So one of the things I wanted to show you is when this, the benefit about FlipGrid is you can use it with distance learning and with face-to-face kids together because it creates that same level of interaction. And it's also asynchronous, which means, you know, if the distance learning kids or parents or whatever can't get on at a certain time, they can come to this when it's convenient for them and still do the assignment. Up here where it says code, you can see if I click on that, it makes the code really large, which is good if you're trying to share that with students. And then also here is what's called an immersive reader. If you don't know much about immersive reader, it is a tool that allows the computer to read the instructions to the student in English or another language, as well as highlight it for them and break it up between words, and it can identify different parts of speech and things. So if you have students that need that help with the reading, they can hear it read to them in the language that they choose. Other resources for you, real quick. You can always go to FlipGrid Tech for Teachers. All the stuff will be on there. I think Jason's going to put that link or a way to join that class in the chat. There's always helpflipgrid.com. Whoops, went too far again. They are monitoring that regularly, so you can get help there. And then if you're a tweeter person, the FlipGrid for All or at FlipGrid, there's a lot of Twitter FlipGrid people. So you can follow there. Jason's also going to put the sign-in sheet in the chat for you. And if there's any questions, feel free to ask them as we wrap up here in the last few minutes. If you're still practicing on the FlipGrid, feel free. Again, you have the link in the join code, so you can get on there whenever you're comfortable and practice if you want to as a student. But I really encourage you to try this with your kids. They tend to really enjoy it, and it's really a good way for them to see themselves and hear themselves and practice presenting information and teaching their knowledge and showing off what they know. We have about 1 more minute, so if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. If not, then we're going to be signing off. We have classes on Wednesday, and then Friday is Remind, which is a class that we need all teachers to attend.
I love it.
Have a great afternoon.